Welcome, everybody. My name is Kathleen Joan. I am a priestess of the Divine Feminine, and this video is meant to introduce you to Reiki energy healing, specifically Reiki in the Sacred Feminine. So I want to take this opportunity to let you know what Reiki is and what you can do with it, how you can use this form of energy healing, which is really powerful, if you decide to become a Reiki practitioner. So I'm recording this video in March 2026. I am offering an upcoming Divine Feminine Reiki practitioner training in April of this year, April 25 and 26. So I want to let you know here, like what this training is really going to allow you to do if you decide to step into that. And if it's after April 2026, no matter when you're watching this, I'm going to introduce us here to the basics of Reiki, what it is, how you can use it so you have an idea if you ever do decide to take that step. So I want to start first just with a question for you to think about, which is what does divine feminine healing, what does that mean to you? Divine feminine healing or sacred feminine healing, right? What does that mean to you? I would love if you could let me know in the comments, right? Like when I say sacred feminine or divine feminine healing, what comes up for you? Do you see yourself as a healer, guided by the divine feminine, or would you like to? Okay. Actually, I think a lot of us, maybe more than we know, are here as here on planet Earth, right, as healers, and we can be guided by the divine feminine in many ways to do that. So the way that I teach Reiki is in a divine feminine setting. I'm a Reiki master. I'm also a priestess of Bridget. She is right back here on my altar. Bridget is both an ancient Celtic goddess and a Christian saint. So my story is I used to be a Catholic school religion teacher. I found the goddess, and now I work supporting women, primarily women from Christian backgrounds, to relate to the divine feminine. So God or goddess as she, right? And that's because when I found the goddess, relating to the divine as feminine healed me. Okay. So that's something I was not exposed to when I was, growing up in a Catholic setting, and encountering the goddess as she allowed me to really start to honor and value myself as sacred, right? Like if God can be she, maybe she can really live in me. Shocking thought, right? Like, wow, revolutionary, but sadly it is, right? Like that we don't grow up with these feminine images of the divine. And so honoring myself as sacred and to embrace my gifts as a healer. Okay, so relating to the goddess has also allowed me to do that. And one way that I practice divine feminine healing is Reiki. So I believe that the more sacred feminine healing in many forms, in many senses, the more that that is happening in the world, that's actually, like, to me, that's the missing ingredient to heal our world, to bring it back to balance and wholeness. So the more of us who are out there in many different ways, right, doing some kind of healing work in partnership with the sacred feminine, calling on her energy, right, working on fully honoring the sacred feminine in partnership, right, in balance with the sacred masculine, I think that's what's going to heal our world. So one piece of that could be for you to practice energy healing in the sacred feminine. So that's why in my Reiki practitioner training, I call it channeling her healing. Okay, that's the name of this. It's really a retreat. It's actually more than a training. Like you will learn to practice Reiki, but it's essentially like a goddess retreat where you're learning to practice Reiki. And in that setting, we call on the sacred she, however she appears to you. So whatever that means to you, right? When we say sacred feminine, that's who we're calling on. That's who we're drawing on as our source and our guide for all of the healing that we do, for all of the energy healing and other healing work that we do, right? So that's a little bit about me and my perspective and like why I offer this way, right? And I want to say a little bit about what this training allows you to do. So if you choose to take this Reiki practitioner training, channeling her healing, you're going to become a certified Reiki practitioner. And you could do that at Reiki level 1 or Reiki level 2. You can also do level 1 and then level 2 together, make a weekend retreat out of it, right? And that's actually how I learned Reiki. And it's quite normal and common for students to do both level 1 and 2 back to back. right? So you could do that. But either way, you will become, whether at level 1 or 2, you will be a certified Reiki healer. And what is Reiki, right? Let's talk about that. So Reiki is the word is Japanese. It's a Japanese form of energy healing. Okay. So the word Reiki in Japanese is made up of, so the ki, Ki, how it's spelled in English anyway, is life force energy. Okay, so similar to like if you've heard talk about like chi would be a similar word, but from Chinese culture, right? So in Japanese language and tradition, it's ki, which is life force energy that flows through all living things. Okay, and the rei part of the word Reiki, rei means divinely guided. So when we talk about Reiki, we're talking about channeling divinely guided life energy, divinely guided ki energy. It flows through the practitioner to the recipient, the person who's receiving the healing, not from the practitioner. Okay. I want to point that out because that's an important distinction. It's not like if I'm a Reiki practitioner, I'm not giving my energy to the other person. I'm not necessarily even intentionally like manipulating or making changes in their energy field. Instead, what I'm doing is I'm allowing Reiki to flow through me. It's like I'm the channel, right? The Reiki comes through, typically through the hands of the practitioner, almost like I'm just like a garden hose, right? And the water is just flowing through, right? The Reiki would be the water. Um, and so we have this divinely guided key, divinely guided life force energy that's flowing through us as the practitioner to the person who is receiving healing. So this Reiki, it's a frequency of energy. It comes from not me. It comes not you. It comes from somewhere beyond us. Okay. And however you want to imagine that, whether you say goddess, God, sacred source, the universe, however you want to describe it, right? But this energy has its own divine intelligence, which is really cool because that means that as Reiki practitioners, we don't need to exactly know every detail of like precisely what is off in somebody's energy field. Like we let the Reiki take care of that because it knows where to go and it will guide us, right? Reiki guides us as far as how and where we send it in the person's system. Well, that's getting a little specific, but the idea is that we are inviting it, right? We're inviting this energy to flow through us to the person receiving. And during a Reiki training, some of what happens is you learn about the history, you learn about the tradition, right? How this came from Japan, and this is Usui Reiki that I'm teaching, that I was trained within. So you'll learn how the founder Mikao Usui kind of channeled this energy as part of receiving enlightenment, and I like all these things, right? Where it came from, how kind of the tradition developed. You will also, during the training, receive what's called a placement. And a placement is when we invite Reiki energy to come kind of like install itself in your system. Okay. So it will do that. And this is kind of like connecting, again, to use the like watering your garden metaphor. This is kind of like if you are the hose, we're trying to water the garden, right? You have to be connected to the tap or to the spout. So the placement, when Reiki comes in and installs itself in your system, is like when we connect you to the Reiki tap or to the Reiki spout, right? So that after that, after you receive that placement, anytime you invite Reiki in, it's like just turning on the spout. The Reiki will flow. Okay. So once you've received this placement, you take the course, you learn how to practice it, you learn how to do sessions, you learn the history, you learn the tradition, all this, right? And you are then equipped to anytime you choose, you invite the Reiki in and it will flow through you to the person you are offering healing to. Okay. So that may sound like a lot, but that's kind of the theory, right? Of like what's happening when you are channeling Reiki energy once you've taken the course and received the placement. Um, so some things you can do with that, like you might be wondering, how can I use this healing energy, right? Um, I don't want to be too sound like I'm being facetious. I'm not. The answer is essentially you name it, Reiki can address it because it's life force energy. right? So it can treat physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, anything that is blocking your flow of ki or life or your client, right? Or whoever you're sending the Reiki to, anything that is blocking their natural life force flow of ki or is getting in the way of their healing, Reiki will unblock that and allow the person's natural healing ability to come through. Okay, so this can boost physical healing for sure. People experience amazing bodily, physical healing with Reiki. So yeah, absolutely, like works on the physical level, right? You can also use this to come into a space of mental calm and clarity, reducing anxiety, right? Relaxing the busy mind and helping you to focus. Some people just find that, their experience of Reiki is that it allows their mind to be still. What a beautiful gift, right? So that you can relax into that feeling of being held by the divine. Reiki is also really good for, yeah, it kind of recharges your whole system. What do we say? Physical, mental, so emotional, right? You can really use the emotional, mental and emotional Reiki, right, for balancing your heart, your emotions, your system. Reiki works really well to integrate and help enhance the effects of any other type of healing you're doing. So if you work with clients, and first of all, if your client is like seeing their regular doctor or practitioner or acupuncturist or whoever, right? Reiki works really well with that, right? Including like Western medicine, including therapy, including all the things. Like Reiki is not a substitute for those things, but it's going to help those things work better. Okay. So, including if you work with clients in another way, if you have a different, you're a chiropractor, you're a different kind of healing modality, right? Whatever it is, you can use Reiki, even if you're a coach or you're working with people on personal growth or things like that. You can use Reiki to help them integrate your work within their body and within their energy field. Okay, so it settles into the energy system. So all of these things are kind of like ways that Reiki can support healing both on its own and working with other kinds of healing modalities. Um, I will also mention, so Reiki level one, sort of basic Reiki, is typically practiced in person. Okay. At the Reiki 2 level, you learn the tools that you need to start to send distant Reiki, remote Reiki. So again, because this is divinely guided healing energy, right? Divinely guided life force energy, it's not bound by space or time. So you can send Reiki to anyone, anywhere, at any time, including kind of like a larger situation. Okay. So I mean, people use this for all kinds of things. Like you can send Reiki to your past lineage for ancestral healing. You can send Reiki to yourself in the past to if there's something that's like still bothering you that you can't let go of, send yourself who experienced that Reiki, right? And allow yourself to kind of heal from that past experience, or to the future. One of the ways I frequently use Reiki is I have dentist anxiety. So when I have to go to the dentist, I make sure the day before I send Reiki to me tomorrow in the dentist chair, right? Because I don't want to be anxious the whole time that I'm at the dentist. And when I get there, I get into the dentist chair and I say, "Oh, okay, I feel the Reiki," right? Like you can, once you get to that moment in the future that you were sending Reiki to, you'll feel it. You can send life affirming this life force energy to like a larger situation. If you're feeling like, oh gosh, what can I do to help something? At least you can send Reiki. So you can use it for manifesting. You can send it to your desires and your goals in the future. So with this level two, there's almost no limit to the ways that you can send Reiki across space and time, right? It's just really super cool. So the I'll leave you with a question here, which is like, what would you do? What would you do with this energy, right? If you had the ability to send gentle but powerful healing energy to anyone, anytime, anywhere, right? Which is what you can do with a level two. In level one, you're going to be more in person, and that's great too, if that's what you are feeling called to. Would you use this personally for yourself? Because you can give Reiki to yourself, right? Reiki knows my aches and pains very well and helps me to heal them, right? I actually practiced Reiki just for myself and my loved ones for 5 years after I learned it. So I just really used it personally. Until the pandemic, I began practicing professionally, and at that point, everything was over Zoom. So my professional Reiki practice started remotely, and I was using level two. So I was at that point, I was a level two Reiki healer. So that's when I started, the professional track. So yeah, you can have a business, right? Doing Reiki sessions, you can work this into your current business or your current healing work with clients. Like there are so many ways. You could volunteer with Reiki. You could volunteer to offer healing to people who need it, right? So there are so many ways you could use this energy. I'm curious, and I would love to if you could let me know in the comments, like how would you use Reiki? That would be super cool to think about, right? For those who have questions, or for those who are feeling called to take this channeling her healing divine feminine Reiki training, your next step is to book a complimentary consultation call with me. We'll talk through all the details of this training, make sure this is a fit for you, and I'll put the link for that below this video. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you learned a little bit about Reiki. I hope you have questions. I hope you're sitting there thinking, oh gosh, how would I use something like this, right? Because it's such a beautiful gift to use for yourself or for others as a healer. So thank you so much for joining me. I am looking forward to hearing from you.